With that, we bring you Brian Costello, the Jets beat reporter of the New York Post. Yeah, I'm a master of segues there, Brian. Thanks for joining us. Explain what happened yesterday with the Jets and how would Jets fans, or should they feel about what they're doing right now?
I'm Maximus nonsense right now, Dan, with the Jets beat. Look, they had to do something. They had to bring in a quarterback. There was no good answers out there for them. So Trevor Siemian is the guy that's going to come in. He's a veteran. I think he probably knows the West Coast offense a little bit. Although he's not going to play this week, but they can get him ready. And if Zach Wilson falls on his face on Sunday night, maybe you see him in 2 weeks in Denver. But there's no answers right now, Dan. Jets fans are just screaming, get a quarterback, and they're throwing out these crazy scenarios of Kirk Cousins, and the Vikings aren't trading Kirk Cousins right now. So the Jets really, there's nothing they can do at this moment. So Trevor Siemian it is.
Why not bring in Trevor Siemian a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It's fair. And I think, a few weeks ago, they initially tried with Chad Henne because he had played for Nathaniel Hackett in Jacksonville. They thought about Brett Rippon, who was on the practice squad with the Rams, and the Rams signed him onto the active roster because he played for Hackett last year in Denver. So I think they were looking for direct links. And I don't know what's better about Trevor Siemian now than 2 weeks ago, other than maybe what they saw Sunday from Zach Wilson said, okay, we really need to get somebody in here now.
When I watch the game, I know that the blame is put on Zach Wilson, but
yeah,
I mean, that offensive line is not very good. So I take Aaron Rodgers out of the equation, and somehow this is one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah, I think the offensive line played better Sunday, Dan, honestly, than they have. They moved some pieces around. There's some different starters, but I've learned through years of doing this, Dan, that there's two types of quarterbacks. There's ones that hide the warts on a team and ones that expose them. And the Jets were counting on Aaron Rodgers to be the guy that hit all the warts. When there were concerns about the offensive line in training camp, and there were real concerns, we talked about it then. The answer you always got, Aaron's going to get rid of the ball quickly, so it'll be okay because he'll get rid of the ball quickly. And when you said, are Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb, are those really good 2-3 options on this team? Well, Aaron likes them. He played with them in Green Bay. He's comfortable with them. It'll be okay because Aaron's here. And then all of a sudden, 4 plays in, Aaron wasn't here anymore. And the Jets, the backup plan was not a good one. And I'm not sure if there was any good backup plan, Dan, out there. I guess they could have cast Zach Wilson aside in January and gone with like a Gardner Minshew, something like that. It would look better. I get that. But I think the Jets were, as an organization, said, let's try to see if we can rehabilitate this kid and not play him for a couple years and have Rodgers here, and maybe we can fix him. And obviously that plan has got up in smoke.
And then it feels like there's infighting, as sometimes you'll see one side of the ball that's better than the other side, or is the media sort of making this a little more than what it is?
I haven't seen the infighting between the defense and the offense yet, Dan. I think the defense has been pretty good about not doing that. The infighting's been within the offense, and that was clear on the sideline. The CBS cameras caught it. Michael Carter, the running back, yelling at the running backs coach, Taylor Embry, Garrett Wilson kind of throwing his hands up in frustration as they were looking at a tablet. The players are frustrated, right? I think where we're at, Dan, is the Jets universe. Jets players, coaches, fans are going through the 5 stages of grief. And right now, I think denial hit right that night. It was like, oh my God, this can't happen. Then there was anger, right? Oh, Jets fans can't have nice things. Then there was the bargaining, Dan. It was, well, maybe Zach Wilson's going to be better now because he was with Rodgers. Now we've hit depression. And the whole place is depressed. And it's like, man, we've got 14 more games. What are we going to do? They thought they were going to the Super Bowl, Dan. They legitimately thought this was a Super Bowl team. And now they're 1-2 with the Kansas City Chiefs coming in here Sunday night. They've got the Eagles in 2 weeks. Like, the schedule is brutal for them to try to right the ship here. So, I don't know when acceptance arrives, Dan, but I think we're a few weeks away from that.
Where are we in a month?
It's a great question. Like I said, Chiefs Eagles is tough. They do go to Denver and play the Broncos. They need to come out of this first 6 games 2-4, Dan. They have a bye after the Eagles game. So the first 6 games and a bye. The whole, even with Aaron, the thought was, if they go 3-3, they'll be all right because the schedule lightens up after the bye. I think if they can win in Denver, 2-4, they can right this ship a little bit. Like, and when I say right the ship, that's not playoffs. That's 7-8 wins, not a disaster of a season. But I think that's where they're at right now, Dan.
Can anybody lose their job this season?
So the hard part with that one is Aaron Rodgers' role, right? Rodgers said he wants to come back. Rodgers has been a fan of Robert Saleh. Rodgers has been a fan of Joe Douglas. Does Aaron come to Woody Johnson and say, you know what? If they're not coming back, I'm not coming back. If Saleh and Douglas have Rodgers in their corner, I think they're back. If this season's a disaster and they don't have that, then yeah, I think people can lose their jobs.
Would you rather watch the Jets play or watch Aaron Rodgers watch the Jets play?
That's a good question, Dan. I what I'm hoping is that we're not watching Taylor Swift watch the Jets play on Sunday. I have this. I feel horrible for Jets fans. They're going to sit there and watch their team get demolished and hear all night from Mike Tirico about Taylor Swift. But yeah,
is Taylor going to be there?
That's the big question right now, Dan. That's really the only drama surrounding this game is Taylor going to be in the building? And trust me, I work at the New York Post.
Oh yeah,
I'm getting that question quite a bit from people that work at the New York Post right now. So but that's the story right now. But yeah, the Rodgers thing going on McAfee each week, and kind of he just adds another layer to this, right? Because our back page today, Dan, is Aaron Rodgers talking about everything.
Yeah,
and I think it's Aaron of Grievances is the back page today. So it's like, and every time he talks, he makes news. So this is I've seen some wacky Jet seasons. This is going right to the right near the top of them, Dan,
or the bottom.
Or the bottom, whichever way you want to go.
Brian, thanks for joining us. Safe travels to the Jets facility. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Brian Costello. He covers the Jets for the New York Post.